After taking note of different virtual banks around the world, we are now back in Hong Kong. By talking to a series of experts in the field, we want to find out who are these contenders and what would happen in this banking arena.
For a market like Hong Kong, with already more than 100 banks, one of the most overbanked markets in the world, can there be 8 more banks there to compete for customers? Ultimately, running a bank is about, firstly, being able to attract customers into the door.
Virtual banks, more like they would really target a very specific segment or for very specific services that the current or traditional banks cannot provide.
If you apply a credit card, you don't really need to wait. You will be able to get a result instantly. So bank is not intelligent enough right now, right? But for a virtual bank, with the use of the technology and a lot of different big data analytics, you will be able to understand the customer even better than the customer understand themselves.
For example, when buying something on an e-commerce website, immediately able to get a loan and finance that purchase in just seconds. For example, when you were going on a travel site, immediately and instantly getting the related insurance and financing for the travel expenses. And this is the kind of banking experience which I think some of these players who have partnered with each other are trying to offer, which traditional banks are not able to offer.
There are a few segments of business that will face stronger disruption, including consumer finance, wealth management, and also SME banking, in my view.
In Hong Kong, we can talk about 350,000 customers, which we call them early adopters. These early adopters, they are ready to use all these VBs, virtual banks.
But wait, before we all get excited and try out these new banks, who actually are they?
The virtual banks with the bank DNA, backed by the banks. These players also have the trust of customers. Customers have trusted banks for decades, and this is a big advantage for these banks over new players. Pure fintech players, and these players have their different domain expertise. For example, it could be in consumer lending. For example, it could be in insurance. And I believe that these players will be very agile, they will be very fast, and they will focus a lot on the customer experience. The banks with the internet giant DNA. As we know, there are a few of these players coming from the mainland, and the advantage of these players is that they have firstly, very strong technology, and secondly, the experience of offering financial services to 100 million and more customers in the mainland.
It seems like they all have their eyes set to shake up the industry. Someone mentioned banks have to first attract customers in the success formula. What's next?
Secondly, being able to keep the customers in the door.
Then looks like only the virtual banks can provide very good experiences, and then the customer will engage with us.
Say, for example, if the bank did find that you are just paying the minimum pay due on your credit card, they should tell you another product. They should recommend, why don't you just transfer your credit card balance to a personal installment loan so you can save interest.
It doesn't necessarily mean that we will provide all kinds of services that currently a traditional banks will provide. For example, like from loans, from deposit, to mortgages, or to investment.
When we look at the last 5-6 years, in banking industry, we try to get the analog products and try to migrate them from physical places, and we put them directly to digital places. We call it digitalization. In virtual banks, it's a bit different. If you want to create really end-to-end digital services, you need to create products and services from scratch. It's not like getting analog products from physical places and put it to digital places. So when we look at all these things in Hong Kong, the potential is huge. So why? Because we can help the Hong Kong people quite differently.
For traditional banks to continue to thrive in this environment, they need to invest more heavily in technology, develop their own digital platform, and move their products and services onto such platform.
Traditional banks are transforming in a number of ways. First of all, the focus in developing new solutions and end-to-end customer propositions purely on the digital channels. They have also shown some new partnerships with lifestyle partners or non-bank technology companies to really enrich the customer experience and to be creative to offer new banking services which are really embedded in a consumer's daily lives.
Thirdly, being able to monetize the customers and make money from the customers and sell multiple products to the customers. And lastly, being able to make a profit from the customers.
From my perspective, I see that virtual banks and traditional banks, they can complement each other. They can serve the same customers in a better manner to serve our customers where they feel underserved, especially in SME, where we see there are a lot of complaints in the past few years around account opening, lending, and the lack of timely services.
Can the virtual banks replace the old? Now it's down to the customers in Hong Kong. Are you ready to give the new banking experience a go?
Who will win, I think we need to see.